Hello. I just finished reading this morning. I just finished reading a short story by Gustave Flaubert. It's The Legend of St. Julian the Hospitaller, and it's a medieval fairy tale, sort of. After finishing Ivanhoe, I wanted to read a short story, and this came to mind for a few reasons. One, just last week, I'd read a handful of French short stories, and I've wanted to read something by Flaubert anyway. I found it interesting that this is set in sort of a mythological medieval world, whereas Ivanhoe is set in medieval England. It's a historical novel. And also, which was particularly interesting, is that Flaubert's philosophy in writing is to try to use the perfect word and to be very selective and careful in the word choice. Whereas reading Walter Scott, it seems that his philosophy is to use every word. It's just an interesting difference in styles. And the story of St. Julian is it's a very strange, fantastical tale. When he's born, when he was born, each of his parents separately were visited and told by sort of ghostly and angelic people that Julian is going to be destined for greatness. He'll be a saint. He'll have fortune and wealth. And as he grows up, he's a smart, well-mannered, gentlemanly, educated little boy. And one day at church, he sees a little white church mouse, and it's his first encounter with animal cruelty. He sees the little mouse and he wants to kill it. He's irritated by it. And he waits for the little mouse to come out of its mouse hole, and he stabs it with a stick. A little drop of blood comes out and he wipes it on his sleeve. As a young man, he learns his father teaches him how to hunt. And they go out on hunting parties with great packs of hounds, and they hunt pheasants and foxes. But Julian doesn't like all of the pomp and intervention and artifice. He prefers to go off into the forest and hunt all by himself with just his gun and his bow and his sword and his knife. And one day he's out, and more animals start surrounding him, and he's killing, slaughtering with indifference. There's no purpose behind what he's doing. It's not for food or for bragging. He's killing animals and just leaving them in piles. And some of this is going to be mature. Some of it could be seen as pretty graphic. A roebuck bounded out of a thicket. A fallow deer appeared at an intersection. A badger came out of its seft. A peacock on the grass spread out its tail. And when he had killed them all, more roebuck appeared, more fallow deer, more badgers, more peacocks and blackbirds, jays, polecats, foxes, hedgehogs, lynx, creatures in endless profusion, more numerous with every step. They turned around him, trembling, their eyes full of gentle entreaty. But Julian, never wearied of slaughter, successively drawing his crossbow, unsheathing his sword, stabbing with his cutlass, heedless and oblivious of everything. He was out hunting, he knew not where, nor for how long. All he knew was the fact of his own existence, and everything was happening as easily as a dream. So, it's this scene of carnage, fantastical, endless, gratuitous violence. And finally he comes upon a family of deer There's a great stag, 16 points, the doe, and then a fawn who's feeding. First he kills the fawn, then he kills the doe. The great stag, angered, charges at Julian. And just before the stag dies, he speaks to Julian and he says, curse you, you are going to kill your mother and father. And with this, he goes into a frightened panic. He goes home and he's struck ill. He's frightened of ever picking up his weapons again. He has an accident where he accidentally drops a sword and nearly cuts his father, and he won't pick up a sword again. He throws a javelin and hits his mother, and he escapes out of the house and joins an army that quickly goes up the ranks. He's almost like Achilles in his valor and bravery and leadership, and he goes all over the country performing great feats. And one day he does a favor for an emperor, and the emperor offers him his wealth, and he says he doesn't want his wealth, and he offers him 3/4 of his entire fortune, and he declines that. And then he sees the emperor's daughter, and he falls in love, and the emperor offers his daughter, and they get married. And he's living a quiet life of peace, and one day there's an animal that's endangering his family. He decides to finally pick up his sword again and go off to try to kill the animal. While he's away, 2 beggars come to his new home and meet his new wife. It turns out that it's his parents, and they've been traveling all over the world looking for their son, and in doing so they've spent their entire fortune, and now they're beggars. And the mother entreats them and brings them in, and finally puts them in their own bed, and they go to sleep, his parents. And while he's out hunting for this animal, he again is trying to kill these animals, but now he cannot. Let's see. Julian shot his arrows at them. The feathered arrows landed on the leaves like so many white butterflies. He threw stones. The stones fell without hitting anything. Fighting mad, cursed, screamed imprecations, choked with rage. And all the animals which had pursued came back, enclosing him in a tight circle, some crouching, others up. All of these wild, fantastical animals come. So they live in an area that's impossible. There's hyenas and panthers and monkeys and parrots, all sorts of birds and snakes, boar, bull, bear. And he can't kill any of them. Everything is missing. In a rage, he goes home, and he just wants to go see his wife, and he goes into the bedroom, and he sees that there's 2 people in bed, and one of them is a man. He thinks that the man has slept with his wife, and in his white-hot anger, he jumps on the bed with his knife, and he stabs them both dead. He later learns that the prophecy came true, and that he did kill his parents. Grief-stricken, he leaves. He leaves his new wife. And now he's just roaming the country as a beggar. Finally, he comes upon a leper that asks for charity. And he brings him in, and he has barely nothing to eat. He has a hunk of bacon and a piece of black bread, and that's all that he has left. And the leper says that he's hungry, so he gives him his last food. And the leper says that he's cold, so he brings over a little flame. The leper says, "My bones are like ice. Please put your body next to me. Take off your clothes so I can feel the warmth of your skin." Finally, Julian and the leper are completely naked, laying chest to chest. He's breathing his air into the leper's mouth, their mouth to mouth. And the leper's eyes burst with light, and a glow comes out, and the leper turns into Jesus. And what does it say? The roof flew off, the firmament unfolded, and Julian rose up into the blue of space, face to face with our Lord Jesus, who bore him off to heaven. I read this maybe 10 years ago. I read it a long time ago, and the first time I read it, I didn't know what to think of this. I thought it was just the craziest story. Now you can tell there's all these mixed up mythologies, and it's great, great fun. There's so much description, detail, all of the animals. It is extremely violent. It goes into graphic detail, but it's still not realistic. It's a very fantastical tale. It's like the title says, it's a legend. And I would recommend it. I know of the 3 short stories by Flaubert. They're all different and they're all great. And that's it. If anyone would like, you can leave a comment. And thank you for watching.